All right, welcome to another deep dive with us. This time we're really getting into it with Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. We've got a pretty cool breakdown of the book to help us, so get ready, because we're going to break down these concepts so you can start mastering your own life.
Absolutely. Robin's work is all about taking those steps to actually grow, not just positive vibes, but actually understanding the forces that, shape who we are and how we can use them.
Okay, so let's get started. First up, the power of decision. Sounds kind of basic, but it goes so much deeper.
Oh, it really does. It's about realizing that we're not just, stuck with what life throws at us. It's our choices that make us who we are. And the first step is seeing how often we just let things happen instead of actually making a choice.
So, like, wishing isn't enough. You have to actually decide, I'm doing this, and then actually do it.
Exactly. It has to be clear, and you got to commit. Vague hopes don't get you anywhere. It's taking that first step, making that decision that gets the ball rolling. The thing we're looking at actually brings up Jim Carrey's story, which is a great example.
Oh, the $10 million check, right. This is a good one.
Yeah, so before Jim Carrey, he wrote himself a check, $10 million for, acting services rendered. Didn't just think about it, wrote it out, looked at it every day like he'd already decided that's where he was going to be. Years later, boom, it happened. But it all started with that decision.
So every journey really does start with just one choice, huh? That's pretty inspiring. But what about, like, the things that drive us to make those choices in the first place? That's where the pain and pleasure principle comes in.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Robin says that basically everything we do comes down to wanting to avoid pain and get pleasure. It's kind of running in the background all the time.
Even when it doesn't make sense. Like, we all know that extra slice of cake will probably make us feel bad later. But in the moment, it just feels good.
Exactly. Any bad habit. Even if we know it's bad for us, that quick hit of pleasure is just too strong. But the cool thing is, we can actually change that.
So we can retrain ourselves, basically.
Yeah. We can connect that pain to the bad stuff and pleasure to the good stuff. The example we have here uses working out, which is something we can all relate to, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like reframing how you think about exercise. That's a good one.
Instead of focusing on how much it sucks right now, you focus on how good it feels after, the energy, the health benefits. By connecting the good feeling to the workout, you're kind of overriding that urge to skip it. It's all about changing how we see things.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are our beliefs. They can be our biggest cheerleaders or our biggest roadblocks.
It's crazy how deeply those beliefs are rooted. Like they're just there. We don't even realize it half the time. Robbins calls them commands to the brain, like filters that decide what we think is possible so they affect what we do and where we end up.
And they can really hold us back, even without us knowing it.
Absolutely. If you believe you can't do something, why would you even try, right? This breakdown talks about Roger Bannister and that 4-minute mile. Remember that one?
Oh, that is such a perfect example of what we're talking about. It really shows you how powerful belief can be. Remind me of the story.
Yeah, so before 1954, everyone thought running a mile under 4 minutes was impossible. Like the human body just couldn't do it. And then Roger Bannister, he believed he could, and boom, he did it. But the really wild thing is, right after he broke the record, a bunch of other runners did it too. It wasn't like humans suddenly evolved. It was that everyone's belief about what was possible changed.
Wow. So if we want to achieve something big, maybe the first step is to actually check what we believe about ourselves.
Right. You have to ask yourself, what am I telling myself I can't do? And then start replacing those thoughts with ones that lift you up.
All right, here's a concept that sounds simple, but it's super powerful. The power of questions. It's not just about what you ask other people, but what you ask yourself.
That's really important, isn't it? How often do we really think about the things we're saying to ourselves in our heads? Robbins says that the questions we ask ourselves all the time, that's what shapes our thinking and leads to, well, the answers and opportunities we find.
So if you're constantly asking those negative, self-defeating questions, you're basically inviting more negativity in.
Exactly. They give an example here comparing questions like, why am I always so unlucky? With ones like, how can I make this better? The first one keeps you stuck, but the second one pushes you to find solutions and grow. It changes your focus, right? Questions lead our attention and tell our brains what to look for.
Exactly. When you start asking those empowering, solution-focused questions, you're putting your energy into finding the good stuff and actually doing something about it. It's such a simple thing, but it has a big impact on your mindset.
And that leads us to understanding what drives us. The 6 human needs. This is about taking a closer look at why we do the things we do. Robbins says that no matter how complicated our actions seem, they all come down to trying to meet these 6 needs. Certainty, or wanting to feel safe and secure; uncertainty, needing some excitement and change; significance, feeling like we matter; love and connection, wanting those strong relationships; growth, wanting to learn and become better; and contribution, wanting to give back and make a difference.
Wow, that's pretty profound. So if we're feeling stuck, it might be because one of these needs isn't being met. That's pretty eye-opening.
It really is. Once you figure out which needs aren't being met, you have a much better understanding of why you're feeling the way you are, and then you can make choices that get you what you really need.
It's like having a roadmap for figuring out what's going on inside.
Yeah.
So how do we actually make those changes last in our thoughts and actions? That's where neurosocial conditioning comes in, right? NAC.
Right. NAC. Think of it as a way to rewire your brain. It uses what we talked about earlier, pain and pleasure, to make strong connections between things and either intense pain or really, really good feelings.
So you're using those basic drives to break bad habits and build good ones.
Exactly. The example here is about someone who wants to quit smoking. They imagine really clearly all those horrible things that smoking does, the pain and the suffering, to connect smoking with those bad feelings. And at the same time, they focus on how amazing it would feel to be healthy and free from cigarettes. The stronger you make that connection and the more often you do it, the faster and more effective the change will be.
So it's all about how strong the emotion is and how often you make that connection.
Exactly. You want to make the connection so strong that bad habits just feel repulsive and good habits feel amazing just thinking about them.
Okay, so we've made these strong decisions, figured out our pain and pleasure triggers, challenged our beliefs, started asking better questions, and even learned how to rewire our brains. But all of this is useless without one key thing: massive action.
This is where the rubber meets the road. Robbins is big on this. Knowing stuff is great, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's actually using these principles that gets you results in your life.
We all know people, maybe even ourselves sometimes, who are great at planning, but terrible at actually getting started.
Yeah.
The example they use is someone always planning to start a business, but never actually doing it.
Classic, right. They have the perfect plan, all the research, but they never actually open the doors. Robbins says, never leave the site of a decision without taking immediate action.
Love that. You got to capture that energy and turn it into something real, even if it's a small step.
Exactly. Even a tiny step right after you decide to do something keeps you moving and shows you you're serious. It breaks that stuck feeling and gets you going.
And finally, maybe the most important part is identity. This feels like the foundation for making any real change last.
Yeah, it's crazy how much our self-image, that deep down belief about who we are, affects what we do and what we're capable of. If you think of yourself as, say, bad with money, well, that's going to make it way harder to actually save money.
Like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. What we do usually matches what we believe about ourselves. The example they give is changing from "I'm bad at saving money" to "I'm a great money manager."
It's like choosing a new story for yourself, a new way of seeing what you're capable of.
Right. When you create a positive, powerful identity, you're creating this force inside you that pushes you to actually change your behavior. It's not just doing things differently, it's becoming a different person.
So to wrap up our look at Awaken the Giant Within, we've covered how our choices shape our lives, understanding those pain and pleasure drives and using them to our advantage, the impact of our beliefs, the importance of asking good questions, those 6 basic human needs, rewiring our brains with NAC, taking action, and the power of our identity in creating real change. It all ties together, doesn't it?
Definitely. All these principles work together. The more you understand and use them, the more power you have to take control of your life and reach your full potential.
And now, for you, our listener, as you think about all this, here's something to consider. What's one area of your life where you feel stuck or like you're not getting the results you want? What's one small but powerful decision you can make right now and one action you can take today to start changing things?